Assalamualaikum students, I hope you all are well, safe and healthy at home. Welcome to all of you in this class of English language teaching. Well, I am here with another topic which is teaching language through literature. So in this class, you are going to learn that how will you use literature for teaching English language. Why to use literature for teaching English language and what is literature. These are the points which you are going to understand and learn in today's lecture. So pay close attention to the lecture to teach literature very well for developing language skills of your students. First of all, let me tell you what is literature. So different definitions have been given by different writers. According to Modi, an umbrella term giving information on every business is called literature because literature can be the literature for medicine, it can be the literature for science and agriculture, etc. And according to Baird, literature is the use of language effectively in suitable conditions. So literature is actually the depiction of the society. Every written piece which can be preserved for the future generations can be called literature. So, question arises, what is the reason why to use literature for teaching English language? So, literary texts can be used in language teaching because language used in these texts is suitable for the contexts of the events. Because when we talk about the literature, the language of the literature is always a rich language, full of vocabulary and full of style and specifically the accuracy of the grammatical structure. So, when literary text is used for developing the language skills of the students, so all four skills, reading, writing, speaking and listening can be developed through the literature because literature depicts the society and whatever the words and vocabulary and grammar is accurate is properly used in the literature and which can be adopted by the students for their daily life routine and in different events. So containing real examples of grammatical structures and vocabulary items, the literary texts raise learners' awareness of the range of the target language and advance their competence in all language skills. Because the literary texts contain accurate grammatical structure, specific vocabulary items, which increases the learner's ability and awareness about the target language, about the language for which purpose you are using the literature. If you are using the particular literature for developing the English language skills, so we can say that English language is the target language, right? You might be thinking that why literature is used in English language classes. Here I have mentioned EFL, which actually means English as a foreign language. Well, cultural, first of all, the first point that why to use literature in classrooms for improving language skills of the students, the first point is that cultural enrichment and awareness. It helps to understand a culture and its ideologies because whatever is in the culture that is depicted in the language. So selection of works of best wisdom of that culture. It reveals the wisdom of that particular culture and for this purpose it's important for the teacher to select the appropriate literature. So mental training. Literature actually trains mind and sensibility of the students for developing language skills. Because it's the highly language is used in the literature and different aspects are discussed in the literature. So it trains mind and sensibility of the learners. And finally, the third important point is memorability. Actually, the easy to remember, the language of the literature is easy to remember. You can take the example of the quotations. There are many quotations which you learn once and you keep those quotations in your mind and you can use those quotations in different situations. So the language of the literature, if you are reading with full concentration and understanding, then it's easy to remember. Secondly, you can remember the linguistic usage, that how the language has been used in the particular text of literature, and then you can apply that type of usage in your own use of language. Number 4 reason of using literature in EFL classes is a rhythmic resource. Poems assist the learner in assimilating the rhythms of a language. Poetry and poems are written in a rhythmic style, and it gives a type of rhythm to the learners. You yourself can write your any passage, any essay in a rhythmic way. So motivating material, we can say it motivates the learner. How? Because we can use the stories, we can use the novel, we can use the dramas for developing language skills of the students. And when they will learn and when they will read the particular drama or story or novel, they will definitely gain interest. Their interest will increase in reading more and more. So they will learn while enjoying the text. So that's why we can say it's a motivating material. Number 6 is that it's a convenience. It's easily available. A perfect written material with accuracy of grammar, with rich vocabulary, with a proper style is available. We don't need to prepare a good other text for the students. We can select any proper text keeping in mind the level of the students, and we can use that particular text in the classroom for developing reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills of the students. So literature is a handy resource, a photocopiable available. Secondly, hard copy, soft copies are easily available. 7th point is that it's open to interpretation. It promotes the interaction. You can understand various points. You can get various knowledge while reading the literature. So 8th reason of using literature in the English language classes, linguistic model. Actually, literature is the linguistic model. It's the best demonstration of language use and style by established writers. Literature is written by the expert writers who have the competency on language. So you can find accuracy of grammar, rich vocabulary, proper style in any text of literature. That's why we can consider literature as a linguistic model. While extension of linguistic competence, students' linguistic competence increases while reading the literature. And authenticity, a source of genuine and distorted language input, is in the form of the literature. So these all are the reasons that we can use and we should use literature for teaching English language to the students. So it's clear that why do you need to use literature for developing language skills of the students? So next question arises that how to select the literature, how to select the text. There are certain questions which I have mentioned here, and I'll tell you that when you are going to select any literary text for your students, at that time you need to be very careful. What to teach when we use literary texts? What you need to teach in the classroom? You need to select material appropriate to level of the class, means you need to keep in your mind the level of the students. If you are teaching to the students of primary level, then definitely you will select a novel which has quite easy language. But if you are going to teach to the students of graduate level, then definitely you will select novel, drama according to the level of the students. So what kind of text to work with? Select according to the need of the students, a course objective. You need to select the material, the text which you are going to teach to your students according to the requirements and course objectives. Means if your purpose is to develop the listening, speaking, reading and writing skills, then definitely you will choose the material keeping in mind all these aspects. Well, what can a literary text be used for? For what purpose you can use? To teach language, not only history or themes. You need to keep it in your mind that you can use literature or literary text for teaching English language. So you can use English literature text for developing the language skill of the student, not only the history or themes. So how to make students enjoy literature? Here you need to motivate by teaching to your students, and you need to select the text according to the interest of the students. Well, the other points are what is appropriate? The question arises, as I told you, that when you are going to select the literary text, you need to select which is appropriate to the level of the student. So what is appropriate? Readability, length and cultural appropriacy is very important. Means you need to select a type of novel which you can teach throughout the semester. If you have few classes, then definitely you will select a very short novel. If you're going to teach to the student for 4 or 6 months, then you will select a lengthy novel. So you need to be very careful about length and culture. Cultural appropriacy, cultural relevancy is very important. If you are teaching to the students a very different culture novel, then definitely it will be difficult for the students to understand. Next point is lexis. Means easy, day-to-day, difficult, pompous, or robust. Means you need to be very careful about the language, which type of language has been used in the particular text which you are going to select for your students. You need to check the vocabulary, whether your student lexis means the words, vocabulary. So which type of vocabulary your students will understand easily. So keeping in mind the level of the students you will select, and grammar. Different levels of syntactic complexity you will understand while selecting the material. And finally, style. Do not start with Francis Bacon if it is elementary level. You cannot teach Francis Bacon to the students of elementary level because its style is aphoristic. So it will be ambiguous for the student. It will be very difficult for the student to understand. So level of the student is very important to keep in your mind while teaching, while selecting any type of literary text for teaching English language to the students. Well, you can use short story for language teaching. So, how can you use short stories and how can you develop different aspects of the language while teaching English language to the students? You can use short story for teaching grammar, for teaching pronunciation, for teaching narration, teaching description, teaching punctuation, comprehension questions. You can give any passage to the students and ask them to give answers. So vocabulary type quizzes like multiple choice questions can be given to the students to test their vocabulary. So we can say the short story can be used to develop vocabulary of the students, guessing contextual meanings. Prediction, you can ask your students to predict certain points while reading the story, making sentences reflecting multiple meanings of a word. So all aspects of language can be taught through the literary text. You can use short story for writing story, means because language, for teaching language, you need to develop 4 skills: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So for writing, you can ask students to read the story and then rewrite yourself. You can ask the students to comment on last line of the story or create a new story based on ending of the story. So creative writing tasks can be assigned to the student for as a homework. Let's analyze the 2 stories in terms of their lexis, grammar, and style. Here you can see the story number 1. My dentist was injured today while she was torturing me. I didn't bite her. She cut herself with one of her instruments while she ran to cure her wound. I stayed there with an open mouth, not because I was dumbfounded. Dumbfounded means surprised, shocked, but because she had not given me permission to close it. Fortunately, She could soon resume the operation, as her wound was not really serious, but it's my first time of rightfully shared pain at the dentist's. She quickly disposed of my tooth before I could say a word. Now, what am I going to put beneath my pillow? So in this story, you can understand, you can analyze and observe the difficult words, the rich vocabulary, the style, grammatical accuracy is there. So the second story, he had planned his whole life on the back of an envelope. She didn't possess a pen, let alone a life plan. She was a free spirit. She went over divorce. Love picked him like a tornado and swept him in her wake. After 10 years, she demanded a divorce. She needed certainty in her life and security of knowing her future. He had learned to live from day to day. It irritated the hell out of her. We always kill the thing we love. So she told him politely as he got out the kitchen knife. She hadn't meant herself. Let me tell you the activity which you can assign to the students for improving their writing, speaking, listening, and reading skills. Activity: turn over your handout. You can ask your students to turn over your handout and enlist the underlined words in the two stories that you remember. Right? And after that, you can also assign different types of activities. Here you can see, you can ask the students to write the adverb of speak and the different words. You can ask the students to write the adverb of think, participle of think, noun, and then adjective. And then you can ask your students and give your students different other types of words just to improve grammatical accuracy, syntactic understanding, and understanding of the figures of the speech of students. Well, you can ask your students, you can give fill in the blanks to the students to check their grammatical structure, to check their readability, their understanding, etc. So literature can be used for developing the speaking skills of the students, not only the reading. Previously, I told you about the reading. Well, for speaking skills, the students are asked to read a story as a chain activity. It will enhance fluency and improve pronunciation of the students. You can use this type of activity at the primary level. So you can ask your students to recall and read the story as a chain activity using the given connectors and discourse markers such as however, then, consequently, regarding, as for as. So this type of activity can be used for the students of intermediate level. Well, you can assign another type of activity to the students for developing their speaking skills. You can ask the students to play different roles based on characters in the story. So definitely when they will go for role play, then they will speak text which has been written here. It will improve the fluency and it will improve the speaking skill of the student in English language. So this type of activity can be used for students of advanced level. Well, these type of activities can be assigned to the students for developing their speaking skills. Here I have written another activity which you can assign to the students. Imagine you are the doctor. Student number 1, student A can be the doctor who diagnoses that Amir, who is the student B, has only 6 more months to live. So tell him what he is suffering from. Make sure you are convincing. So here you can evaluate the students' speaking style, their fluency, their pronunciation, and their pitch of tone, their style of speaking. Along with this, their nonverbal communication. It will improve the conversational style and the speaking skill of the students. Along with speaking, listening skill is also very important for developing the listening skills. You can ask the student read the story out loud, so students have the opportunity to listen to a native speaker if English of English if at all possible. If it's not possible that there is not a native speaker, or you can play the story if a recording is available. So you can ask the student to listen with full attention, and after that you can ask the student to give answers to the question. Who is the main character of the story? Where, when does the story take place? What is the problem, conflict in the story, and how is the conflict resolved? Such type of questions based on the story you can ask from the students by the end of the recording. So you can also read the story loudly, and you can ask the student to listen with full attention, and I'll ask questions by the end of the story. And then you can pose different questions. You can ask students to write answers of those questions, or you can only listen the answers of the students. For developing speaking skill, it's very important to develop the pronunciation of the students. So here you can see I have written a part of the poem. So I have underlined certain type of sounds, and after that you can ask your students to understand, focus on the sounds S and Z. So, and we sit upon the rocks, sing the shepherd feed their rocks. By a shallow river to whose falls melodious bird sings madrigals. So you can ask your students to identify the za and sa sounds. So in this way, you can teach and you can develop the pronunciation of the student depending on the level of the students. Keep it in your mind that you will select the activity according to the level of the students. Well, it's all about today's class. For developing reading, writing, speaking and listening skill, you can use literature. Well, let me tell you, for improving the speaking skill, you can even ask students to prepare a review and present in front of the class in the form of the presentation. So there are different activities which you can assign to your students for developing their language skills. So we can say that literature is the best source which can be used for developing reading, writing, speaking and listening skills. So literature can be used for teaching English language. So I hope all the points which we have discussed in today's class are properly clear in your mind. In case of any confusion, definitely you can discuss with me. Well, here I'll wind up the session. Take care. Allah Hafiz.